Welcome to the On Pace podcast. Today we are talking with April Waugh about mental illness and depression and how running helps her deal with it. She has been running consistently since she was 18 years old, has been running for 20 plus years. She believes a lot of people begin running to conquer inner demons opposed to just running because of the love of the sport. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So, why'd you start running?
Well, I started running for the same reason that I think every college student wants to run, and that's to not gain the freshman 10, 15, 20. But, I was encouraged by one of my colleagues who was a runner and a soccer player, and he told me, you should try running. And I said, I hate running. I've hated running since elementary school. Why would I want to go and do that? It's an acquired taste. It's like coffee. You learn to love it because it makes you feel good. And I thought he was out of his mind. But he was right. A lot of times running is not easy. A lot of times it's very grueling. It can be sometimes disappointing, but it never disappoints at the end of a run, because no matter how bad it is, you're still winning. You still did something. So
that's a good reason to get into it. So how do you find that it helps with dealing with your own little issues?
So, I initially started running because, when you're 18, you just want to look cute. And I found that there is just so much more to it than that. I used it as a stress relief throughout my 20s. And when I had my daughter, I stopped. I had to stop during pregnancy because I was getting morning sickness so bad that I'd get 10 minutes into a run and just get completely nauseated. I'd have to stop. I remember sitting against a telephone pole for 10 minutes trying to wish away the nausea. So stopped during pregnancy. And then after my daughter was born, I had a really undiagnosed but pretty bad case of postpartum depression. I didn't think there was anything wrong with me. I just thought, I'm a mom now. This is just how life is. And my husband got to Colorado, so we when my daughter was 10 months old, bought a house, changed jobs, every major life change you could think of in a span of about a year. And when my daughter turned 2, I started getting really, really sick. I did not know what was wrong with me. I could not get out of bed, even though I had crippling insomnia. I was nauseated all the time. I felt just this horrible fear for no reason. And then the suicidal thoughts started hitting me just so bad that I thought, okay, well, I'd be sitting in the house in a certain spot and I'd feel this sense of dread, and then this horrible thought would cross through my mind. And I started avoiding certain places in the house where those thoughts would seem to be worse. And, this went on for several months until I got so sick that I ended up in the hospital. And that was kind of a wake-up call for me that something needed to change. And so I got referred to a psychiatrist. After a bunch of misdiagnoses, I went to several other doctors, but I finally went to see a psychiatrist who diagnosed correctly on the first try. And he said, I don't know if you've tried exercise before. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm a runner. But, he's like, well, when's the last time you ran? And I told him, like, I haven't run in about 5 years at this point because, life happens. And he says, look, I'm going to put you on medication. You're going to therapy. And you're going to start. And so I started running again, and it was painful. But it 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 just it just made all the difference. Like the medication will get you to a point where you can function, but the running literally makes you happy, genuine happiness. So, and ever since then, I still take medication, but I find that the running enhances the effects of the medication. I don't want to just be one of these people that takes a pill and expects it to fix everything.
Yeah. That's it's not one easy fix to get over like something like that. I've had my bouts of depression in the past from lots of head trauma from professional Muay Thai, and it's not just one. It's not an easy 1 day fix. It's takes a lot of work, and you got to keep going at it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So how often? I know you compete a lot. I forget how many races you told me the last time, but it's been a few weeks since then. So
So I've basically done a race every weekend, at least one, for, oh gosh, since I can't remember the last time I had a weekend where I didn't do at least one race. I, some people think I'm insane. The last I did, I did a half marathon and a 5K last weekend, which is kind of standard for me. I know there's probably people out there going, she's out of her mind. But there's something about doing races, the adrenaline of it,
yeah,
um, the camaraderie, the other runners cheering you on. I mean, I think getting a bib and getting a medal, all of that, each bib and each medal is a memory for me. And when I look at my bib wall, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can check out my picture of my bib wall often, frequently. Um, I look at that wall and I think to myself, this is how far I've come in my recovery. And if that can get just one other person to see that you can live a healthy, happy, productive life, even with a crippling, life threatening mental illness, then I've done my job on this planet. And that's really the reason it's not to look cute anymore. I'm past that point in my life. I'm 38. To be at peace with the world. So
yeah. So for some people, it takes a lot more work to keep happy than it does for others.
exactly, it does. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie, so you can see how far I have to go.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. Like if I don't have my goals and I'm not working towards them, uh, I'll be in bed moping around, and it
Yeah,
can get out of control pretty quick.
right.
So, do you have any race that stands out to you that shines above the rest?
Um, I do. I have two of them. Um, I think, of course, first and foremost is my very first marathon ever, which I ran 20. So recent. That I ran because I felt like I had to prove something to myself. And I know that there's like an element of macho about that statement, but I ran my first marathon after I got diagnosed with mental illness. And there was something in me that said, you got to do this. I don't think to this day, I don't think if I had ever gotten diagnosed or if anything bad had ever happened to me, if I had ever gone through that, would I still have run that marathon? Probably not. But a lot of people say, "Oh, that's great! You ran your first marathon in spite of your illness." But the truth is, I ran it because of that illness. That was all the motivation I needed. And I decided to. I never take the easy way out. I always I ran my first marathon here at altitude because I was like, I'm going to do this. If I'm doing this, we're going to go like all out and do this. So I decided that I was going to run my first marathon at altitude, and then that wasn't enough for me. So 2 weeks later, I flew to San Diego and ran my second marathon ever. So um, that stands out in my mind. The other race that comes to mind is a really small 5K. It's here in the Denver area. It's called the 6 Dash, and it is a race that benefits blind people. And let me tell you, if you have faith in humanity, go run with a bunch of blind people. Watch blind people run a 5K, because I walked away from that race with just a sense of there really is good left in the world. And if you're in the Denver metro area, I highly recommend running the 6 Dash. Um, they're not sponsoring me. I don't think they even know who I am, but I just love that 5K. So check it out if you're here in the Denver area.
That sounds like an inspiring event.
Definitely was. Definitely.
Any race stand out to you as the lowest?
Probably my very first 5K ever. It was painful. I was embarrassingly slow, and there was this girl this was in college. She was running. Hi, baby. My daughter's here.
Hello.
Say hi. Hi. Um, there was a girl that had hit by a car, and she had recovered from back surgery. I guess they had to put some plates and stuff in her back. And I remember during the whole race, I was trying to catch up to her, and I was just slow and exhausted and like, oh my God. And this is just a 5K, okay? I'm looking back at this going, what was wrong with me? And this girl was beating me. And I found out when the race was done, I started talking to her. She told me, oh yeah, I'm recovering from back surgery. I'm really slow. I got hit by a car. I was in the hospital for days. And so that made me feel like, oh my God, I got beat by this girl. God bless her. If you're listening to this, I don't even know her name, but if you're listening to this, you inspired the hell out of me, whoever you were. So yeah, that was my worst but inspiring race. So
Well, that's cool. What about some personal records? What kind of race times have you had? And how, oh yeah, we already went over how many races.
yeah, I have too many I have never even counted. But as far as PRs go, I don't know a lot off the top of my head. Neither a fast runner, nor am I a very slow runner. I'm kind of mediocre. And I'll be honest, I mean, I'm not built to be a runner. I've seen people that are born with that gift, and I was not one of them. And that's fine, because that's not really why I run. But I think my fastest 5K happened when I was 25, and that was like 22 something, or maybe 2150 something, close to 22 minutes. Happened once, will never happen again. I was going to die after that, so yeah, it's not happening again. Um, but again, I don't. My goal is, to me, a PR is to feel better. If I feel better after a run, it doesn't necessarily matter how fast I was. If it sets the right tone for the rest of my day and I can function, then you know what? Even if I lost, I won.
That's perfect. That's why I want to ask, because for some people, it's not about the times; it's about the experience of the events, and that's more important than anything.
It is, and I'm one of those people. And don't get me wrong; it's very exhilarating to get a PR time wise, but I just feel like each is an experience, and there's things about some of them that I will just never forget. Certain things happen during races, and you're just like, wow, that was amazing. Just like the blind, the 6 Dash race is. I didn't get a PR at that race, but I will never forget that race ever. So
Yeah, that's cool. So, did you start out young as a runner? You said that you ran before. So
I
you
did.
started running in college?
Yes, I did. I was 18, and like I said, I started running because I wanted to look cute and all that other ridiculous stuff that, looking back now that I'm 38, I'll be 39 in August. Um, that is, I realize, and I tell this to a lot of younger runners. I say, look, if you're running just to fit into a smaller size of jeans or to look cute, you are missing out on so much of the magic. You're missing out on so much that running can do for you. Um, that just shows you that you can evolve as a runner. I've really grown and matured as a runner, and I see a lot of younger people running. You know, they're talking about their diets and, PRs and trying to fit into, the dress from high school. And I, I'm past that point, and I'm trying to. I wish I could have been at this point sooner, and that's why I like to talk to the younger runners and tell them, guys, look, I mean, this running thing, it permeates every aspect of your life. It makes you feel better. It keeps you in shape. It makes me a better mom, a better wife, a better daughter. I'm just a better person.
I find that's the same with me. Like I'm a much better person for everybody when I'm keeping on my routines of my running and keeping myself in check.
Yes, and that is exactly the case for me as well. And I mean, you look pretty young. I think it's good that you know this at a young age. And in retrospect, I'm a late bloomer. I wish I had have realized this sooner. Um, but I will never take running.
Well, it
Blessed to have.
took me some hard days of some hard stuff to get this knowledge, but
Oh yeah, I'm sure. But um, diamonds are made through pressure. That's what I've heard.
so it's so what you say, like it's the structure of the life that running brings that really helps you.
Um, I think it's the structure as well as so I've been doing a lot of reading about how the brain responds to physical activity as far as, mental illness and um, cognitive thinking and such. And there is an underlying, and I talked to my psychiatrist about this. There's this school of thought that strenuous exercise, contributes to a process called neurogenesis, which means that your brain generates new brain cells when you exercise. It releases chemicals that allow it to grow new brain cells. And that's essentially the same thing that they believe antidepressants do. Um, Only there's no side effects to running unless you consider euphoria a side effect, which I'll take any day, anytime. Uh, and yeah, so that I think I'm intrigued by that. And I have been doing a lot of my own reading and trying to figure out why more doctors don't prescribe exercise, because it's an almost instant boost. It's instant gratification, whereas my antidepressant took like 3 weeks to kick in. I can go for a run and I feel good after mile one. So yeah, I can't hear you.
Oh, my mute was on. Sorry. I said there's money to be made in selling those pills to people and keeping them on them, so it's a little bit more profitable, unfortunately.
I mean, I would agree. Um, but I think, I tried doing running by itself without the medication, and it would work for a few hours, but then I'd start to decline again. And um, I mean, I have to work, I have to be a mom, and I can't just, on rest days, I wouldn't be able to function very well. And I do have a strong family history of mental illness, and so my psychiatrist definitely thinks that um, he definitely thinks that it's a lifelong affliction in my case, because everybody on my dad's side of the family has dealt with mental illness. And he said that I'm doing better than a lot of his other patients, however, probably because of my obsessive, fanatic kind of running habits. So I look at it as I could, I could try and go off the medication, but I need to be able to function on days when I can't run. And I'm realistic. As a mom, there's days when I just can't run. I just, my daughter needs me. Stuff comes up. It's mom life. So, yeah. I think between the medication and running, I think I am actually in a better place than I was before.
Well, that's good to find the balance then.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, some people definitely need it because there is obvious medical conditions that some people have with hormone development problems, and
Right.
yeah, I've been there with being knocked unconscious a couple times and my hormone production shut off.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that could happen.
Oh yeah, it's a pretty common thing.
Oh, yeah. There's, the human brain is the most complex organ in the body. And I mean, we probably know more about outer space and the universe than we do about what's between our ears, I think. It's
Yeah.
still a mystery.
What's my next question? So, how do you find time to always be out there doing those events and being mom, and I suppose you work as well?
Yes, I do. I am actually a satellite engineer and a mom and a runner, and I sometimes wonder how I do it. Um, I wish I had a straightforward answer, but I think all the moms out there can relate to the fact that you just take what you can when you can. And so I see a lot of people make these intricate training plans, and they plan out their workouts and they plan out their meals. And it's like, wow, that sounds really cool. That's never going to happen for me. So I, for me, I have to get up early in the morning, and I do have a treadmill in my basement, so that helps. Um, I have to get up early before my daughter gets up, and I have to get my run in. I have a between 30 minutes to an hour. Um, and then once she's up, I'm done. I have to get her ready for school, get to work. I am not an evening runner. I have tried. Um, I, I'm just so tired after work and, caring for my daughter, that the prospect of running after work and at the end of the day is just like, I would rather have my toes torn off by wild dogs than do that. I mean, no offense to you evening runners out there.
So you're all morning running, eh?
I Most of the time, I did join a running group at work that runs on Thursdays after work, and let me tell you, that has been brutal. Um, I I don't know why I inflicted that suffering on myself, but probably to increase my mileage, and because I'm a little bit insane. So, yeah, I prefer mornings. Put it that way.
Who is there anybody inspiring figures that you would look up to with dealing with some stuff?
There's quite a few. I Celia, and her Instagram handle is Schizocelia. She uh, she is so incredibly transparent and so inspiring and so positive despite her mental illness, and hers is pretty serious. Um, I just I'm amazed at how happy and productive she is, and how comforting she is when she talks about her illness. It's like I almost feel like that is her gift in this life, and that's it's not a derogatory thing to say because we can't control what happens to us, but she took something terrible and turned it into something that is helping and inspiring so many people, myself included, that I just, she's younger than me, but I still want to be her when I grow up. She's amazing. So, yeah, definitely, Celia, if you're listening to this, you know I love you.
And what's some advice that you would give to somebody that might be listening that is suffering from similar problems that you were before?
My biggest advice is two pieces. Is A, don't give up on trying to find a treatment. Um, it took me 5 medications before I found something that worked so that I could just function, so that I could just eat, I could sleep. I couldn't run without having just those basic human functions happen again. If you're not sleeping and you're not eating, you can't run. So if you're in that position right now where you can't even function and much less run, do not give up hope. It took me several months and several medications, but keep trying. There is something out there that will help you. And the second part is, you can live a healthy, happy, productive life and still have a mental illness. They are not two separate entities. And I really just want to say that to people because that was what I needed to hear when I was going through my worst of it. It doesn't matter if you've been in the hospital. It doesn't matter if you've had suicidal thoughts. It doesn't matter if you take medication or you're afraid to speak up about it. Don't give up and know that you can still be happy again and productive again, and you will function again.
Yeah, it takes a little bit more work for some people, but
Yes.
when you actually find that happiness, and it might take a while because it's a lot harder for some people than it is for others, but when you put in that work and you do find that happiness after you've been stuck in that depression for a long time.
Yes, I agree. And, honestly, I think I've always had, depression and anxiety. And I think I've been, up until I got really, really sick when my daughter was 2 years old, up until that point, I think I was a high functioning depressive person. I was able to make good grades. I was able to run, but at the end of the day, I'd be completely drained, just empty. I just felt empty. And that went on for years until it got to the point where I just couldn't even function. I was just, it almost felt like I wasn't even human anymore when I got that sick. So it does take years. And I would just encourage anybody that if you think that you need help for a mental illness, getting it sooner rather than later is helpful because you will start recovering sooner. Don't wait until you get that sick. That's one thing in retrospect that I would change if I could. I would have gotten help sooner than I did.
That was one thing that I feel like used to feel like I was just watching myself go through the motions, like I was very, very disconnected from myself.
Yes.
And it's like you're not even the person that you're walking
Yes.
around. And
I know that feeling. I know it all too well, and it is, you're drained at the end of the day from pretending to be like your old self. And I know that feeling, and it's something that even to this day, it strikes a sense of fear in me that that could happen again. Um, I'm there's not much on this planet that I'm afraid of, but I think that's one of them. Is
yeah,
work.
I'm pretty afraid to step back into that life again too. So
Yes.
I'm always doing something every
Yeah.
minute of every day.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that. I feel like as long as I am in motion and I'm doing something productive, I feel like I am one step ahead of my illness, and um, as if I can keep that up, I I'll be happy. Um,
That's one of the things I say about running is leaving the demons a little bit behind, but if you stop running, then they catch up and
yeah,
then they're
that
back with you.
I know that all too well. And if somebody told me, if a doctor told me tomorrow that I have to stop running, I'd find something else. But I would swim. I I hate golf, but if that helped, I would probably play golf. I'm not one to give up easily on my mental health because it's really the foundation of everything. I can't be a mom, most importantly, if I'm sick. Can't be a wife, a daughter, an employee. I can't do anything. So, yeah.
That's one thing that people don't realize is they ask you like, how do you have the time to go run? How do you have the time to do all that?
Yeah.
But if I'm not doing that, or if I'm not being productive and doing those things, then all the other things in my life I'm not going to do because I'm just
Exactly.
not going to function.
Yeah, that's right. And I always tell people you make time for what's important. And my brain is important. I need my brain. So, yeah.
Yeah. Let people know where they can find you if they want to ask you some questions. Instagram, anything else like that.
So if you want to find me, I am at Running Like a Fox on Instagram, and my email is runninglikeafox@gmail.com. And just as a side note, I am obsessed with everything with foxes since I was 7 years old.
How'd
Um,
that happen?
so my mom bought me a book about foxes when I was 7, and I don't know why, but I became just obsessed with foxes. If something had a fox, I had to have it. So I had fox everything. And I think I posted on Instagram on Throwback Thursday, I posted a picture of me as a year old with a stuffed fox asleep. Um, so I don't know, kids get obsessed with weird things, but the only difference is I'm 38 and I'm still obsessed. So is that weird?
It's it goes hand in hand with the other things, I think, because I get extremely obsessed with things, and
Yeah.
it's to what other people would think is unhealthy, but
Right. Yeah. I agree with I don't think it's unhealthy at all. If foxes make me happy, I'm going to collect things with foxes. And, I mean, hey, I'm not basic. I'd rather be weird than basic. So, yeah.
all right. So obsessed with foxes. You can find her at Running Like a Fox on Instagram, Running Like a Fox at gmail.com for the email. Anything else?
I think that's it. And if you ever need someone to talk to, my DMs are always open for mental health. If you need someone to vent, I'm here.
Thanks a lot for doing this.
Thank you.
Okay, we have been speaking with April Waugh on the On Pace podcast. Thank you so much for coming on once again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. You can find us at Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at On Pace Podcast, Twitter at Pace Podcast, and our website is www.onpacepodcast.com. Thank you one more time.
Welcome to the On Pace Podcast. Welcome to the On Pace Podcast.